Sup everyone, Thomas here, aka Restroom's Trainer, and welcome back to another one of my videos. So a couple weeks ago, I made a poll asking you guys what video you wanted to see me make next. And the results of the poll were... Really? They want Pokémon Sizes Part 3? Even though Part 2 performed terribly? They chose it because it was the Pokémon option, didn't they? Make a note real quick. Next time, don't include a Pokémon option, because I want to do something different. Right, thank you. Well, despite the last part performing terribly, it seems you guys want a part 3 on this topic. So here I am. Now obviously, go and watch part 1 and 2 if you haven't already, so that I don't have to explain how this works. Now, we covered Kanto in part 1, and both Johto and Holland in part 2. So logically, we'll be covering Sinnoh in this video, which thankfully has enough to justify its own video. Also, I do want to quickly bring up something that I probably should have mentioned last video, and that's the height check feature in the mobile version of Pokémon Home. Yes, I'm aware of it, and yes, I do use it on occasion, though usually only when I'm really unsure about how Pokemon's height is measured, and I really probably should have used it a lot more than I have. I didn't bring it up last video since I didn't think it was that important, but I'll bring it up here just so you know that I am in fact using it. Lastly, before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps this channel out, as I'm hoping to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But with all that said, let's get started. The first Pokemon I want to cover is Infernape, who stands at a not so impressive 3'11", which is certainly shorter than expected. And while we're at it, let's throw in both Lucario and Lopunny, who are also shorter than expected at 3'11" as well. Now I'm not saying that they should be the same height as the average person or anything, but I do think they should be a fair bit taller than what they currently are. So I'm adding an extra foot and making them all 4'11" instead. Next up is Prinplup, who stands at 2'7". Now if you've seen the last part, you might already know where I'm going with this. While its current height is already a bit off on its own, it feels particularly off when compared to Empoleon, who stands at 5'7", over double Prinplup's height. So I'm going to give Prinplup a slight boost and make him 3'3" instead. Up next is one I hinted at in the last video, Roserade. Now I've admittedly gone back and forth on whether I think Roserade is a size change or not. For context, Roserade is 2'11", and after thinking about it for a bit, I've decided that while I do think it should be a bit bigger, I think it should only be a minor increase, so I'm making it 3'3". Next up is Shellos and Gastrodon, who are definitely smaller than expected. Shellos is only a foot tall, while Gastrodon is only 2'11", which legitimately blew my mind when I found that out. Now for Shellos, I'm going to give it half a foot, making it 1'6". As for Gastrodon, I'm bringing it all the way up to 4'3", which is a lot closer to how I usually imagine it. The next Pokemon I want to cover is Mismagius, who stands, or rather floats, at 2'11", which is certainly smaller than I thought it would be. Now I almost considered making it a 3'11", but ultimately decided that was a bit too big, and settled on 3'7" instead. Next, we have Munchlax. Now for what's effectively a juvenile Snorlax, you'd expect it to be decently big. 2 foot was not what I had in mind. Yes, I know this thing is a baby Pokemon, but this thing literally evolves into the 6'11" Snorlax. So I feel somewhat justified making it 3 foot instead. Next up is Drapion, who I usually imagine to be a decently big Pokemon. And while its official height of 4'3" isn't too bad, I do feel that it could be a bit bigger, say around 5 foot or so. Up next is Electivire, a Pokemon that I usually imagine being fairly large. So it was interesting to see that it's actually the same height as me at 5'11". Now while it isn't too weird, I do think that something around 6'7" would be a bit more appropriate. And now we'll cover Magmortar. Similar to Electivire, I usually imagine it to be decently large, though not to the same extent. And so its official height of 5'3" seems a bit short to me, so I'm bringing him up to 5'11". The next Pokemon is Gallade, who stands at 5'3", which feels a bit short to me. Now admittedly, it isn't exactly clear how Gallade's height is measured, and in hindsight, this would have been the perfect opportunity to use Pokemon Home's height check feature, though I didn't think of that at the time. And so when I say that I think his height should be increased to 5'11", just know that I'm measuring up to here, when in hindsight, there's a good possibility that it's actually measured up to here, in which case, its current height isn't too bad. Next up is Dusknoir, who is a whopping 7'3", which is massive. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Dusknoir being quite large, but this feels a bit too big, so I'm shrinking it down to 6'7", still quite large, but not absurdly so. And now onto Frostlass, a Pokemon that I usually imagine being on the smaller side. So imagine my surprise to find out that she's 4'3". Yeah, that's certainly a fair bit bigger than I was expecting, so I'm going to shrink her down to 3'3" instead. And lastly, we have both Cresselia and Darkrai, both at 4'11". Now I can absolutely see people being completely fine with this height, and that's fine, but for me personally, I feel like that's a bit too small, so I'm adding an extra foot and bringing them up to 5'11" instead, which feels closer to how I usually imagine them. Now, real quick, I do want to give an honourable mention to the Creation Trio, Dialga, Palkia and Giratina. Now the reason I'm not including them with the rest is because my issue isn't so much with their heights, since while they are massive, they are effectively gods, literally only outranked by Arceus himself, so I'm willing to give them a pass there. My issue is their heights, compared to each other, since they're quite different. Like, I don't care too much what their size is, I just think they should roughly be around the same height as each other. The other reason I'm not properly including them is because my height chart literally isn't big enough for Dialga, and I'm far too lazy to make a bigger chart. So yeah, just figured I'd mention that real quick. And with that, we've gone over every Sinnoh Pokemon whose size I'll change. What do you guys think? What are some Pokemon from Sinnoh that you change the size of? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. But that's going to do it for me here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps this channel out. Have a great day everyone, and I will see you next time. See ya!